So in this part of the tutorial we'll start using our equipment for something useful. In the last part we were actually generating random equipment, and in this part we will start equipping that equipment so that we will gain some stats. So between part 6 and this part I generated some different items that I can equip. I'm not going to show you how to do that because I showed in part 6 how you can generate a random item. So what I did was that I generated a head, a piece of shoulders, a chest item, a necklace, pants, boots, a one-hand weapon, and a shield. And then I equipped I generated some braces, a trinket, a ring, and a belt, and then a two-handed weapon. So these are all the items I generated. Maybe you want some other items in your game, or less or more items. You can of course just generate that, but these are just for show, and this is what I generated to demonstrate this functionality here. So right now we have a character panel here, and this character panel should be filled up with our items. If you are interested, you can of course generate some other icons here for your character panel, so you can see that the head slot goes here. Right here next to the character panel we have the character's current stats. So these stats that are written here right now is the character's base stats, which means that my character, when it's naked, it has like 10 stamina, 13 strength, 3 intellect, and 8 agility. I can equip these items different ways, and all these items are of course generated from an XML document. So I can actually just show you. As we did earlier, we have this XML document where I added all my items in it, and in here I have all my potions, my weapons, and so on. And the only thing I did was to generate these different items here in the XML document, and then I went to my resources and I made, of course, icons for every single item that I want to have in my game. And the same goes for the weapons here, as you can see, a highlighted and a non-highlighted. And you should be able to do that by yourself without me showing you how to generate all these, because you might want to make some other weapons yourself. And it's, of course, as I told you, shown in part 6 of the video how to do this already. So if I load here and I open my inventory, you'll see that we have all our items we can equip. So these different items has one more thing added to them. As you can see, if we look at the tooltip here, it's written that this is a head item. This is written strong helmet, this is a good helmet, and under that it's written that it's a head item. So that's one more thing we're going to add in this part. That is where these pieces are going to go, so it's easier to identify them. So basically we just added some more information to the tooltip. So these items can be moved around just like any other item, and you can equip them on your character. So you can equip them two ways. You can take the item by itself and click on the slot inside the character panel that you want it to go on. And this is why I'm saying that you can always create some slots here with some other sprites, so you can see that the head slot should go here. So when I equip that weapon, as you can see, I just changed my stats. I can try to de-equip it again. You'll see that my stats go down once again. So when we equip some items, our stats is affected by those items. So this is one way of equipping them. We could take it and drag it. We can take it, drag it back, and we can take it, drag it on here. So if I wanted to equip the head slot item to any other place, it will just snap back to my inventory because my head slot item only goes in this slot here, as you can see. So we can also equip things differently. If we right click on the items, we will also equip them. So now you can see I just equipped my boots, my pants, and so on, and my braces, and all these things. So I can equip all my items just like this by right clicking, and as you can see my stats are increasing because all these items has some different stats they will add to my own stats. Okay, so one more thing that is very important is that two-handed weapons can only be used alone. So I can't use a two-handed axe and have a shield in my hand at the same time, because a two-handed axe needs to be wielded with two hands. So right now if I right click on this axe, I'm not able to equip it because I already have an offhand. If I right click on this one, which is a main hand, I'm able to equip it because I can use one hand, main hand, with a shield at the same time. So if I would want to use my two-handed axe, I need to de-equip my weapon and my shield, and then I can equip my two-handed axe. So right now I don't have an offhand, but I can still equip my awesome sword here, which is a main hand. If I right click on it, it will switch these two items here. So right now I would also be able to equip the axe here. If I right click on it, it switches places with the main hand weapon. And if I do like this, then I'm not able to equip this axe anymore because I have an offhand. So as you can see, if you have an item in the slot and you right click on other item that goes in that slot, well then they simply swap places. So if you found another helmet, let's see if we can find something. These are another pair of braces. These are exactly the same though as these, but if I right click on them, as I did there, these two braces actually changes place, which we can't see because they are identical. I don't have more items of the same kind. So this is what we're going to do in this tutorial, and as you can see, I can equip all these items. Let's see if I take my sword, equip my shield, and I save and close this one down and open it up again. And if I open these things up, you'll see that I have nothing, and I can load, and everything gets loaded, and my stats get loaded, and all my items are equipped, and I have all the things in my inventory. And of course you can take your things and put them inside the bank as well if you want to do that. Yes, so that's what we are going to do in this tutorial. And as usual, if you're interested in the projects and all the sprites that I'm using here, well, then you can find it all through the link in the description below. Before we start the actual tutorial, where we're gonna create the character panel and equip some equipment and gain some stats, we need to fix a few bugs that I didn't fix in part 6, because when I was working with part 7, I bumped into a few bugs that I didn't think about when I was making part 6. So the first bug has something to do with picking up dropped items. And these bugs I'm fixing now would also be fixed in part 6 of the tutorial for download. So if you bought the tutorial package and you are going to download part 6, well then these bugs are also going to be fixed there. So there's no bugs in part 6 in case that you only want the inventory part without the equipment part. So if we play our game and we're going to pick up some potions here, we'll see that if I pick up my mana potion and to drop it on the ground and I try to pick it up, you'll see that the potion is picked up, but it's still here on the ground here. So I'm not destroying it when I'm picking it up. And in last tutorial we were switching around some things for picking up items, and that's because I never thought about the potions. So if I try to pick it up again, see that now it got picked up, so I need to hit it 2 times or something, or 3 times maybe. So we need to make sure that when we pick up a potion, we won't be able to pick up more than 1 potion, because now I have 2, even though I just picked up 1. So now if I pick up 2 and drop them on the ground, and if I try to pick these up, see 1, 2, 3. So now I have 3 potions instead. So I can duplicate my potions, and we're not interested in that. So there's a very easy fix for this. We need to open our script, and then we need to go to the add item function. Find it, and it's the add item function in the inventory. So open the inventory script and search for add item. Find it somewhere here. There we go. So here we have an add item function, and down here we are checking for if empty slots is larger than 0. Well, then we're going to place empty, and the function place empty, if we go here, actually returns a boolean, but we are not using that boolean for anything. So what happens is that when we go to the add item function, let's go to it again, if I could find it. Go. So if I go to the add item function here and I say place empty, then it jumps in here, places empty, and then it returns false after. So it actually adds the item to the function, to the inventory, without removing it, because I'm not returning anything, because it goes down here and returns false, and add item returns to somewhere else, so that we know we need to destroy our item. So I basically just need to write return in front of place empty inside the inventory script. So I'm going to return place empty, so I'm returning the boolean if it was possible or not to place the item in our inventory. Because right now it thinks that we're not able to place it in the inventory even though we are. So let's try to pick up some more items. If we can get a potion, there we go. So if we drop this potion now and I pick it up, then it disappears from the ground and I'm not able to pick up duplicates anymore. So that was one bug. So another bug has also something to do with splitting items and dropping them. So if I would see if I can pick up a stack of items here. See if I can get one more health potion at some point. Any potion, there we go. So if I pick up the health potion, shift click to split it, open it up, and then I have this potion in my hand. If I want to drop that on the ground, you'll see that the item gets dropped, but I still have the item following my cursor around here. So we also need to fix that one so that the item on my cursor also disappears, so it looks normal when I drop something. So to fix that, jump back into your script here, and then we need to go to the slot function, or not slot function, but the slot script. And in here we have a function called clear slot somewhere. Here we go. So we have this clear slot function here, and in here we are increasing the amount of empty slots, but we are never checking if our we're trying to access the slots transform the parent get component and increase empty slot, but in case we're clearing the hover object or the moving slot here, well, then we're going to get an error because the moving slot is containing all the items that we are moving, but the moving slot doesn't have a parent as the other ones, because when we move something around, we go to our inventory, we select the slot, and then we go to the inventory here to get the script and clear the items in the script and increase the amount of empty slots. But at some point we are also moving something around on the mouse and we're trying to find the moving slot's parent and clear and increase the amount of empty slot in the moving slot's parent. But the moving slot doesn't have any parent because we're only using the moving slot to move stuff around, so we don't need it to be a child object of an inventory. And that's why this one is going wrong, because we're trying to do that no matter what slot we're going to clear. So when we're clearing the moving slot, well, then we get that error. So if we make an if statement here saying transform, the parent is different from null, and we put that in here, then we are checking if we have a parent before that. So when we try to call clear slot on our moving slot, then we're checking, well, do we have a parent? If we don't have a parent, well, then we shouldn't try to increase the amount of empty slots. If we do have a parent and we are clearing a slot in an inventory, well, then we need to increase the amount of empty slots. So if we save this and rerun our game, let's try again, see if we can pick something up. Actually, I think I can just split something that is here. There we go. And I split this one and I drop it on the ground. And now I didn't get an exception and the empty slot is removed from the game, so I can't see it anymore. As you can see, I can keep splitting these things without any problems, and I can open up here and split my mana potion and place it inside the bank. So one more thing we need to be aware of is our loading function, because right now we have an amount of empty slots in our inventory, and actually I could go to my inventory, I think here, and empty slots, there we go. Go to definition. That's private, so I'm just going to make it public so that we can see it from the outside, because as you can see right now, when I have my inventory here, I should have something called empty slots. I should just let it update. There we go, yeah, I'm just blind. We have empty slots here, which is 0, and when I run my game, it is increased to 10 because that's the amount of slot we have right now. We don't have anything, and when I pick something up, this amount is decreased. As you can see, now there's only 6 slots left because I just filled out 4. But one problem is when I save, stop running my game, open it again, and I load, well, then you can see I filled up my slots in the inventory, but the amount of empty slots is still 10 because I'm not reducing the amount of empty slots whenever I load something in the inventory. So I also need to fix that. So we need to go to the load function of our inventory here. Load inventory. And in here somewhere we need to increase or decrease the amount of empty, increase the amount of empty slots. So down here in load inventory function, we are adding our slots somewhere. If we go down here, let's see, all slots, add item. So here we are saying when we load our inventory, we found an item and we found the exact slot we should put it in. Well, then we are calling add item to add the item to the inventory. And inside this add item function, we can actually we can actually make sure that we increase or decrease the amount of empty slots in the inventory. So if we right click on add item and go to definition, or you can open the inventory script and go to the add item function here. So in here we just need to make sure that we decrease the amount of empty slots. So if is empty, so if the slot we are inside is empty, well then we're going to say transform dot parent dot get component inventory dot empty slots minus minus. So every time we add an item to a slot that is empty, which means that it's a new slot we are adding the item to, well then we're going to decrease the amount of empty slots because it's a new item, or it's a new slot that we take in use, so there's one slot less in the inventory. And we just added that to the add item function, so whenever we use this add item function, well then we are going to decrease the amount of empty slots. So let's just save this. So if we jump back into Unity and look at the amount of empty slots here, if we track that, then we'll see that it goes to 10. And if I open up my inventory and loads it, I added 4 items, and now there's only 6 slots left, as you can see here. So I have 6 empty slots even though I loaded my inventory, so everything should be working fine now. So let's see, if I pick up an item, it decreases by 2, as you can see. So I just added an item and it was on 6 before and now it's on 4. And the reason that it does that, it's because that we are decreasing the amount of items more places, because now we're doing it inside add item function. So there are some other places that we don't need to check. There's other places we don't need to make sure that we are decreasing our items. So we need to remove some code as well, because now I have 0 empty slots and I still have 3 slots left. So let's find out where we are doing that. If I read empty slots, if I could spell, and we search the entire solution, let's see. Here we're not doing anything. Here we go. So here after add item, inside place empty, in the inventory script, I'm saying empty slot minus minus. And I don't need to do that anymore because I'm doing it inside the add item function. So I can actually delete this. And let's save one more time. And let's play our game. And let's see, we can load our script. We have 6 slots left. Let's pick one up. 5, 4, 3, 2. Not 2 yet because we picked up something in stacks. We have 1 empty slot left. There we go. So now I managed to fill up my inventory and I have 0 empty slots. So that's one of the bugs. But if I would open up this inventory, as you can see, I have my inventory here and I have 0 empty slots. And if I take a mana potion here, pick it up and drop it into my what is it called, in my bank, it also increases the amount of empty slots already. But we need to check if, let's see, if we put all these things over here, and I would put, now I have 3 empty slots. If I put this one back, then I still have 3 empty slots, as you can see, because I just put these items over here, and that means that, yeah, it's actually decreasing the amount of empty slots, or increasing the amount of empty slots when I move something from the inventory to another inventory, but it doesn't decrease the amount of empty slots when I take something and place it inside the inventory as I'm doing here. So we need to make sure that we decrease the amount of empty slots in an inventory when we move something from another inventory into the new inventory. So when I take these items here and place them in my bank here, the amount of empty slots for this bank should be decreased every time I do this, so that I can't keep putting stuff in there. So to fix that last little bug, we need to jump back into our script, and we need to go into our inventory script, because it's in here that we have the functionality for moving slots around, or moving items around in slots, so to say. And we already have the functionality for doing some of this, but I want to add an extra function to our slot class that can handle these swappings for us, so that we can use the same function on our character panel we're going to make later. So when we want to equip some items, we can just use the same function, so we reuse functionality instead of keep writing the same functionality with a little different code. So we need to do this inside our move item function, as I said, inside our inventory script. And I just need to find my place here. So here we are actually moving our item around, but we want to be able to make a function that we can reuse all the time. So we are actually going to take some of this functionality and move it into a new function. So inside the slot class here, we're going to add a new function, and we're just going to make it static. What did I do? I just deleted something. Yeah. We're going to make it static so that we can actually use it other places. So we're going to make a public static. I'm not even sure. Do I want to return something for it? Nah, don't want to. Static void swap items. And this function is going to swap two items from a slot to another. So we're going to make sure that it takes in a slot called from and a slot called to. So this indicates that we are going to give this function the slot we're going to move items from, and we're also going to tell it the slot we're going to move something to, and then this function is basically going to swap everything around for us. So if we go back to the inventory here, so basically it's, as far as I can see right now, it's this functionality. All this functionality right here is basically going to be placed inside our slot swap function. So just for now, we can take all this functionality here and we can cut it, Control X, or right click and cut, so we have it. And then we can go into our slot function, the swap items, and paste it in here. So we need to make some modifications in here, of course, so it works as we want it to. But right now we can jump back into the inventory, and up here we are making sure that if we want to merge some stacks, well, then we're going to merge them with merge stacks function. Else, if we're not going to merge them, well, then we're going to swap the two places. So we're going to call the function called swap on the on the slot script. And because we make it public and because it's static, we can actually access this script on the class itself. So we can write slot dot swap items, and then we're going to give it the slot it's moving from, and that's inventory manager dot instance dot from, and the slot that we're moving to is inventory manager dot instance dot to, not tooltip object, but the to, there we go. And let's just save this for now. So right now we are reducing the code in here and we're adding it to the slot class. So now we have moved the functionality in there to this function, and if we save this, let's see if we have any errors and we need to fix something. We should still be able to move stuff around out here without any problems. Take the sword and I can move it, and I can still move it into my my inventory bank and back. So this didn't fix the function, the bug where we can increase the amount of empty slots. As you can see, I have 13 empty slots now. If I keep doing this, I just keep increasing it, so now I have 14. So now we need to go to the slot function here, swap items, and we need to add some functionality here so that we are sure that we decrease the amount of empty slots every time we move something from an inventory to another. So we can actually change a little code around here because we have the from slot here and the to slot here, and we are going through the inventory manager already here to access it, so we're not using these two right now. So the reason I have set this up like this is because later when we are going to equip our items, we're going to use this for a lot of different functionality. For example, equipping item and making sure that we can't equip a two-hand weapon when we have a one-hand weapon and a shield, for example. So we might as well prepare for that. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to say from.clear slot instead of this line of code. So I use the from I give here because the from I give in here is actually that one I'm using in there already. So just to make it easier, like to use the local variables, we're just going to do like this. I'm going to clear this, and then I'm going to go down here and say from.add items, add item. It's add items because it's more, maybe add items, and we're gonna say temporary 2. So here we're adding the items to the from just by using the local variables here. So what we came from was that we needed to decrease the amount of empty slots in when we move something back and forth. So when I take an item from let's see if we can just play this. Don't remember if I saved. So if I take an item from this inventory here, this is the from. If I click here, then this inventory here is the from inventory, and this on inventory here is the to inventory because that's where I'm moving it to. Well, then we need to say to.transform.parent.getComponent inventory dot empty slots minus. Let's just do like this, empty slots with the use the one with capital letters because we're going to remove this one later with non-capital letter. So we're going to use the property here, empty slots minus. So what I just did was that I made sure that when I pick up an item here, then I go to my to inventory. I say, well, this slot I'm placing something in, I'm going to access the parent of that, and that parent, if it's this slot for example, this parent is the chest inventory, and I'm going to access the inventory script on that slot or on that inventory. I'm going to take the empty slots and decrease it by 1. So when I move something, the amount of empty slots is decreased. And that's exactly what I just did here. So if I save this and play my game, and I pick up an item here, see, and if we look at our inventory, we have 9 empty slots. Pick up our weapon, we put it inside chest inventory, we have 10 empty slots. We take the weapon up again and put it back into our inventory, and now we have 9 empty slots. So now the functionality for moving stuff around actually works fine, and we don't have the other bugs we had before. So I think I'm gonna end this part now, and then in the next part we are going to start creating our character panel so that we can start equipping our items. So this was just a preparation for starting to equip items.